Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. Glad to have you here. So the last few weeks we've been talking about, Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. Glad to have you here. On the last few episodes, we've been talking about the 5 Stages of Wealth. This is a book that I'm about to release, and we're going to take you in depth in every chapter. And we're going to show you strategies to get over every area, and it's really to how to grow your wealth. And if you're new to this podcast, this was based on case studies. This was hundreds and hundreds of individuals that I sat in front of and said, these people, I mean, there's something in common, and I saw these patterns. I think when you do any profession, you start to see patterns emerge. And when you see those patterns emerge, you can start helping people by guiding them, and you look to see where people did well, and sometimes they didn't do well, and what was the catalyst, right? What got people moving along to the right direction? So we've been talking about the 5 stages. Up to this point, we're at stage 4. Now, I'm not going to go as long as maybe a recap as I have in some other episodes. So if you have not listened, I'd go back and listen to the 5 Stages of Wealth and maybe go back a few episodes. But if you're caught up, here's where we're at. So remember, stage 1, money is greater than income, I should say, is greater than everything else. At stage 1, you just feel like you just need more money, right? It's all about income. If I could just get a 5% raise, a 10% raise, if my business just did 10% better, 20% better, 30% better. If I just had more money, right? This is the kind of like the lottery winner syndrome, which is that this idea that if I just had more money, if I could make more money, then all my problems would go away. And the problem is you can't make enough money, right? You just can't, because people start to spend what they make. And then we have phase 2, which is the settler. This is the person who, at least stage 1 is what I call the dreamer, right? The person who still dreams and believes. And these are where most entrepreneurs come from, and people that are focused on building something amazing. And this is kind of what ends up happening with this stage 1 is that, they've got some financial learning to do, but at least stage 1 is the dreamer, the person who believes they can still accomplish pretty much anything. Stage 2 is what I call the settler. This is the person who's retirement focused. If they don't realize there's a big difference between stage 2 and stage 4, both get all the time they want. One's on a fixed come, one is not. And so they're completely different lifestyles. And stage 2 is the settler. The person who bought into the retirement syndrome, the person who didn't realize it, but they made their financial advisor and a lot of other people wealthy, but didn't get wealthy along the way. And their number one financial goal was to simply not outlive their income. And that was it. Their goal was to not outlive their income and their assets is really what I probably should say, is because their goal was to not outlive their money. Right? The stage 2 is this idea that I hope I don't outlive my money. And that's, to me, a tragedy. I've said it before. I think it's a tragedy. I believe that human beings are so amazing. We can accomplish so much. But at some point, the dream became, instead of accomplishing everything, and we don't want to go back and tell our kids that I hope your goal someday is that you don't outlive your money. We tell them they can accomplish anything in this world and they can become anything they want in this world, and we push them to do great things. And yet somehow we've allowed ourselves to be told that as long as we can stop working and stare at the walls at some point, then that's success, and that's a shame. Step 3 is this idea that, hey, look, I got past that idea. I want to build assets, right? And by the way, I'm not against the stock market. I'm not against your financial advisors. Amazing financial advisors out there. That's not the point. The point is getting out of that retirement income. Matter of fact, the best advisors out there understand that you really truly want to get to stage 4 and 5, and you want to create wealth and impact in this world. And so, look, This retirement is kind of stage 2 thinking. Stage 3 is you want to build assets. You want to own businesses. You want to own real estate. You want to own stocks. You want to own portfolios. You eventually realize that the key is that I want to own assets that provide income and passive income at that. Now, all assets have to be managed. Important concept for you to understand. All assets have to be managed, whether it's a business or a stock portfolio, and whether you pay someone to manage it or you manage it. But the idea is that you eventually learn that there's an accumulation of assets, and as the assets accumulate, then we get to this place where we go, okay, well, now I've accumulated assets. They provide passive income. Hey, I like this. I can actually get money without actually having to get my hands dirty. And in stage 1, you had to get your hands dirty. Stage 2, you got your hands dirty so you could stop working and stare at the wall. Stage 3, you realize, hey, if I build these organizations, if I build assets, if I build portfolios, they'll provide me income. And that's like moving the paradigm on wealth. And so you start to realize your income is designed to buy assets that then provide income, right? That provide passive income at that. So then you're moving through these phases, and then all of a sudden, eventually, you start to realize that though these assets sometimes consume your time, and sometimes that they also build unfortunate ego, which happens a lot. We saw this in 2008, which people had all these assets, and then overnight the market wiped them out. So when you get to stage 3, you got to start building a lot of assets. You got to start really moving the needle on your assets, and but you also have to protect those assets and get better and stronger and smarter advisors and strategies around those. And so you eventually, as you're in stage 3 thinking, to protect yourself, you need to protect against ego. You need to realize you don't need the cheapest advisor. You need the best advisor, and inexpensive advisor isn't where you're going anymore. You want a great team around you, and so you start building it. As you start doing that and you start building assets and accumulation and you protect it and things are going well, you start to realize that, well, one of the great assets, which is stage 4, one of the greatest assets you have is actually time. We protect time, and so we go from income to assets to time. And so you start in your organizations providing and building scalability. If you're a doctor, you're hiring other doctors, you're hiring associates, you're hiring other team members, you're building leadership teams. You're putting people around you that allow you to then scale an organization. If it's an individual, you're trying to put things around your assets that allow you to monitor your assets, maybe from Fiji, right? And so you start to realize it's the time that you have that's so powerful. And I call this person the manager. And because the person knows how to manage their relationships, they learn how to manage their relationships. They learn how to manage their time. They learn how to manage their calendar, right? They start getting rid of all those things that consume a lot of time. They start realizing the value of their money. And we talked about this last week as value of their time. And we talked about this last week as this idea that how much is your time worth, right? And figuring out how much your time is worth and then getting rid of those things that aren't worth your time. And starting, maybe you have a personal assistant, maybe you have people in your life that allow you to then have the time. So you wake up every day and you have passive income. You have a scalable organizations. You have managed assets. And you get to do what you want. See, the difference between stage 2 and stage 4, see, you go back again and say the settler that was just looking for retirement, see, whenever money they've accumulated at the age of retirement, that's it. And because of the way the retirement model works, they have to eat the asset every year. They have to eat their portfolio so that their goal is to not outlive that asset. In stage 4, you're growing assets, right? And you're building more and more assets, and you build a scalable organization, and you're still very engaged. Warren Buffett in his 80s is still engaged with Berkshire Hathaway, but he can do what he wants. So if you had the income, and you had the assets, and you had the time, then what would you do from there? Where would you go from there? And the answer is stage 5, which stage 5 is when you realize that impact is greater than everything else. That impact, that at the end of the day, you can spend time doing the things you love and you can accumulate a lot of things, but you can't take them with you. And so what you do is you start making a list and think about the people who've impacted you. Who's impacting you in your life now? Who are the people that helped you get there? Who are those people that helped you get there? And you start to take notice of those people. And then you start making a list of who do you want to impact? Who do you want to impact, and whose life do you want to change? Whose life do you want to affect? Right? So we start looking at who's impacting you and who's helped you to reach your goals, and then who do you want to impact? Right? Who maybe organizations? For me, I have this place in my heart for children with cancer, because I just can't imagine having to deal with that as a parent. And maybe for you, it's other people that have maybe helped you along the way. This is a time when you give back to your team and the people that maybe that have helped you get there. And they said that Warren Buffett's, his right hand, his admin is like the highest paid in the entire country, right? He doesn't worry about market rate. He goes back and takes care of the people that have helped him. So it's the humanitarian. It's the people that have helped you get to that place. The goal is to spend the rest of your life giving back. The rest of your life giving back, right, to the people that helped you. And so you have to go help those people that have helped you. And that's the whole point of this, is that you finally you got the assets, the income, the time, and that's stage 5, and that's where that comes in. I've got a doctor that I'm working with right now, and his goal is to build this awesome, amazing foundation. And this foundation, the whole goal, like, he literally wants to have his kids run the foundation for their entire adult lives. The point is that he's using his dental practice. And by using his dental practice, he's bought assets, and those assets provide him income. And he's got such an abundance of income and time that literally he's able to build a foundation that helps other people. See, that's what will get you out of bed in the morning. That's what will get you moving. That's what will inspire. And I'm telling you, the highest form of wealth is impact. And you watch what the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gates are doing. I'm telling you that you want to get yourself in a point where you can impact as many people as possible. You want your income to lead to assets that lead to time, that lead to impact. You've got to make sure that's what you want. You want to be able to build a foundation. And we got to do things that are smart. And I want to talk about this in the book. Like, you got to protect yourself from a tax perspective, right? We got to protect our estate. And we need to protect the estate to make sure that taxes aren't being unfairly taken away from the estate. Right? We've got to protect risk, and risk moves away from self, right? There's a lot of people talking about risk management in the marketplace, but that's usually about the self, but this is about the legacy. And what is the legacy you want to leave behind? So we go again, well, why did you start a business? Why did you start a dental practice? If you're not a dentist, hey, why did you start your career? Or, where are you going and why are you doing it? And so this point is, somewhere along the line, and just so you guys understand this, somewhere along the line, we got sold a story that wasn't true. See, if you ask kids, last year I was at my kid's school and it was really neat. I was there for kind of an end of the year graduation for kindergarten. And I was listening to these kids, and they ask them, of course, at the end of the year, hey, what do you want to be? What do you want to, right? What is your job? And they all say, like, a policeman, a fireman, a doctor. See, when we were young, we remembered. When we were young, we knew that a life of service is a life worth having. And when we were young, we knew, it was in our hearts. It's what we call innate. Innately, we knew that a life of giving back and making a difference in people's lives gave us purpose. No one had to tell those kindergartners that they should be a police officer or, right, a dentist. They knew that they wanted to have a life of purpose. And somewhere along the line, they started being told a different story, and they started buying into the story and started believing the lies, and they started believing. And I cannot tell you how many dentists that I've walked into or business owners that I've walked into, and they don't even know why they're showing to work every day. They're behind on their promises, they're behind on their taxes, they're behind on their payroll, and they're not sure what they're even doing this. So they're building another office, and they're building another location. I cannot tell you how many dentists I've walked into and they have multiple locations and don't even know why. They don't even know why they have multiple locations. They don't even know why they're expanding, because someone told them somewhere along the line that they should. Why do you do what you do? Who are you? And why do you do what you do? What's your goal in life? Is your goal just to simply retire and stare at the walls? Is your goal just to be able to eventually have a certain house or a certain car? Because those things at first are fun, but the fun wears off. Now, I'm not saying that it's not great to have nice houses and nice cars. I'm certainly not saying that. But when I'm saying that can't be your only purpose. To consume, it can't be your only purpose. See, the people that I've met, I've met so many multi-millionaires out of zilch of debt. And they've done everything that they thought they wanted to do. And it wasn't until we started talking about the life they could have and the impact that they could have that things started changing. And those people became different people, and they knew why they were getting to work. Here's the crazy part of all this. Do you want to make more money? Focus on impact. Do you want to have more assets? Focus on impact. Do you want to have more time? Focus on impact. See, when we get down to this equation, when we're done with this equation, when we actually walk through it, we realize that the only thing worth getting out of bed for in the morning is to making an impact in your life, in your family's life, in the people that come behind you, in the generations, the people that you can teach, the legacy that you can leave behind. See, that's the greatest form of wealth. All the other stuff will just disappear. And you'll find out what you were trying to do is to get out of bed. And one of the reasons why people lose their way is because money can only satisfy so far. Now, by the way, I think you should have a terrific amount of income. I think you should have a terrific amount of assets. And I think you should learn how to accumulate and manage money and how to direct that money and do it really, really well. But what you'll find is, if your purpose is just to accumulate, you'll find that you'll actually accumulate a lot slower. That it will take you twice as long, if not longer, to get to the same place. That I tell people all the time that you get what you measure. You get what you measure. And when I work with, and I've studied, and I've spent time with the wealthiest people, and what I'm going to tell you right now, the people that are wealthiest in the world measure the right thing. And what are you measuring? Go find your purpose. Find your reason for getting out of bed every day. Write your list down. Don't wait to accumulate to have your list. Write your list down. Who do you want to impact and who's impacting you? When you've done that, go to work on those things and you'll find the rest falls in place. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a great day. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.